Well, Jen, I'll tell you the meaning of life. Just kidding. Um, he was asking specifically about teaching and whether one would have to have experience or when could they begin
You want to update video?
having experience. Wait, can you guys see my screen? Am I drawing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good?
Yeah, you can see it.
Okay, cool. And the answer to that is nah, man. You don't have to have any like work experience to be an educator. Absolutely not. You could totally teach whenever and however. You know what I mean? The value will come from what you're able to teach people. Okay. Um, there's plenty of professional artists out there who have lots of experience, but don't really teach very well. You know, and vice versa. There's many people who have very little to no experience in the industry, but do a really great job of teaching. You know, I can give you a couple examples. Modern Day James, one of my students, before the pandemic, we went to New York and we were planning on going around the states, doing all kinds of cool educational stuff. But then the pandemic hit, so we can't. We were going to go to Seattle, but it's all good. I'm gonna start studying this person's artwork. I fell in love with it. But I don't think he's ever worked in the industry, like not in a real way, you know. And he makes a decent living teaching. Actually, I'm not sure what he's up to these days. I should check in with the guy. In fact, I don't do it right now. Let me just go to Messenger and start the conversation. He's a great guy. I don't think I've even seen him on social media. I'm gonna check in with everybody. And then Cynics on YouTube. I think he just got to 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is crazy. It's super impressive. But he's only worked in like I think one studio, and he hated it. And he even told me he's like, I don't think I even did a good job. you know. But I think he's a great educator. I wouldn't say that because of that bad experience that he may have had in the industry doesn't cut out to make him a good educator. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I've learned from many, 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 many people who I know for a fact are not in the industry or not working, and even if they tried, I don't think they would do a good job in terms of like actually working in this in studio. You know what I mean? But I learned a lot regardless, watching their videos. I think the value that I have brought in to the educational platform, me specifically, is that I am one of very few people I think that I can think of who bridge the gap between professional education, professional experience, as well as, uh, relatable education. And that's just really hard. Like, I don't even want to just say that I'm like some sort of like savant in this. No, it took me a while to even get to where I'm at now. You know? And I realized that there was a gap there. And just like anything, that's very, 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 very challenging to do, to lead a very professional career, right? And become a prolific educator. It's hard to do both at the same time. In fact, when I was working in the studio life, when I was doing studio life just for the short time that I had before the studio ultimately shut down, right? I very much was lost in work again. You know, Granted, I came in at a time where the studio was like pretty much on fire, in my opinion. So a lot of my time was helping them put out fires. So that's why I was working so much. But I felt I can see the writing on the wall that we're going to get out of it if we can just get more time. And we didn't get the time though, unfortunately. You know. But to answer your question, absolutely, you can start teaching even today. It doesn't mean you'll like. There's no promises either way, right? You can build a reputation as a good artist and then go and teach. That's going to help you because people will know you for your work and they're going to love it. And if you're like, hey, I'm going to show you how I do it, that's always goes well. People always react very well to this. Just imagine some of your favorite artists that don't do that right now, and they just say, hey, I'm going to do a mentorship. Think how quickly you would be like, fuck yeah. You know? Like, there's plenty of artists I'm sure you guys know of and love. And like I said, they don't do any kind of tutorial or any kind of educational platform at all. And you just can't wait till they do. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that absolutely does help to have like a reputation already as a great artist. I'm just saying it's not necessary. I have a friend who's really stickler about this. He does a lot of tutorials and a lot of great feedback, and then people take that and then they make their own based off of what he taught, and he gets real upset about it. And I think that's reasonable, but that's kind of like the thing you have to recognize as an educator, that like that's what you're doing though. You're teaching people how to do your thing. So it's to be expected that they're going to, even if it's indirect, you know what I mean? That people are going to do that. But someone like myself, I don't really worry about this specifically because I teach really, really well the way that I teach, and it's really hard to do that. And also, the way that I draw and paint is also really hard to do. Meaning that the very thing that I have to offer can't just be easily stolen. You know what I mean? And I didn't really say this to my friend. I didn't want to kind of make him feel bad because I love the guy. But I felt like some of the stuff that he was doing, I was like, you know, like a lot of what you did, you learned online too, you know? And the only difference between you and maybe some of these other online presence is that you do the very thing that I do, you know, which is you find new ways of using these tools. You're very creative. You come up with these amazing creative solutions, right? And then you tell people about it, and then everyone's like, yeah, I'm going to start doing that now because it's so smart, right? But like a lot of what I teach is like, a lot of where my skill is, it's like I could show you exactly how I painted this, right? You guys are watching me now, and I can give you all the advice in the world to do it. But it's clearly one of those things where it's like, but you can't just do it, right? And that's why I always remind people, like, the way to get there is you have to train. You can eventually. And once you get there, let's say you eventually get to the stage where I'm at, which most of you guys will if you keep at it, it still won't be a big deal, right? Because there's very few elite artists, you know? Like, I'll start worrying when everybody starts actually trying hard. But the reality is most people don't try hard enough, you know? It's very lonely at the top. But it's not like what makes it so interesting to me. It's not anything that I don't think like it's not like out of reach. You know what I mean? Like all of you guys could totally reach it. It's just how diligent are you? You know, really, that's really what it comes down to. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, no. When you're saying about trying hard, I guess I'm more curious to know when you say try hard, like if you were to be specific, what would you mean? Because I think that it's one of those phrases where when someone says try hard, like everyone has their own definition.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I think that most of us end up having sort of like a vague definition, which is probably where we end up getting defeated.
Yeah, what is your definition? And I'll correct you, or I feel like I need to correct you.
Well, I mean, my definition has changed quite a lot, and because I've been working on being a little more specific, the idea of working
Yeah.
hard to
Perfect.
me, it really is like, at least I correlated. Actually, I to be honest, maybe I don't.
What did I teach you in this class, dude? Even till the very end, dude. He's still, you can just say you don't know. That's perfectly fine, man. I'm glad you did. It's just so funny. Like, yeah. So try hard. The try hard is in every aspect of what you could imagine it mean. Okay. But I'll give you the most specific one. But like, just remember what I just said there. Any way that you could imagine trying hard means, yes, that has some truth to it, whatever that thought is. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give you the most specific example. Can you draw every day for 2 to 4 hours, every single day, starting today, for 10 years? Can you do that? Not missing a day, 365. That's trying hard to me. You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
And most, if not all, many people do not do this. They just don't. And this is what I was saying, like, and that's what's crazy, because that is actually, like, it doesn't actually sound very hard. 2 to 4 hours. 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour at night, 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night. Who can't do that? Right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Fucking everybody. You know? Apparently. You know what I mean? Apparently everybody can't do that. But trust me, you can. This is what I'm saying. Like, it's within grasp, just nobody tries hard.
Right.
Because they'll come up with whatever reason, like, oh man, I don't feel like it today. Or like, and this is where you start seeing like a lot of those motivational gurus start to come into play, right? Like the Gary V's of the world, right? The Tony Robbins, right?
Yeah.
And they're right. You know, I think they're a little heavy-handed. I think that they're more like alpha mentality to their kind of preaching of this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not wrong. It's just more like, it's super aggressive, their approach. You know what I mean?
Right.
But they're not wrong. Like, it is about like putting in that time, right?
Yeah.
And when I say people don't, you know, like, you can even think about within this class, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, think about like how much more work that you've done for this class than you did, let's say, before the class. And what was the difference? Right?
Right.
I just kept you accountable. That's it. Why can't you just do it for yourself? That's the point. You get it?
Yeah.
And once you realize that, it's actually very simple and it's very easy. And when I mean easy, I don't mean easy as in like as you're learning how to get better at painting forms. Like, that's just going to be hard, right? Like, it's going to be a lot of heartache. What's easy is that you just know you have to do it. That's what's easy, right? You just spend 2 hours a day minimum. That's like your base. Like, no matter what, you put the time in. You did the workout, right? That's what I mean by easy. It's not that it's like people are always thinking that there's some sort of like, no. Like, AJ knows something more than he's just not telling us, dude. You know?
Yeah. Right,
and I'm like, no, man, I've been trying to tell you guys, you know, this whole time. And you guys, I feel, get it. Most of my students by the end of the class almost always get it, you know? So I don't really get too worried about it. But then, like, you know, sometimes my students will take my class again because they've fallen off the wagon, and then they're like literally they're like, yeah, I just stopped drawing. Like, after class.
Right.
It's like, that's the very thing I told you not to do, and you did the very thing. And I was like, I was telling you, and they're like, yeah, I didn't do anything, and I feel like bad about it. And it's like, yeah, this is what I was saying. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so when I say try hard, right, most people just don't try hard. This is exactly like the most specific example. There's many others though, where like another example of try hard is like the one that you guys have experienced a lot of, where you would try to learn something new, and it's a challenge, and you get frustrated with yourself, and you're really hard on yourself, right? But that is a try hard experience, like putting yourself through that. right? It's not pleasant,
Right.
but that's kind of the thing. Whenever I discover something, okay, that is really kind of hard, it's hard to do, you know,
Hmm.
I get amplified by that because I know in my mind, oh shit, dude, a lot of people are gonna give up, dude. Like a lot of people are gonna get to the same point and they're just gonna quit. So I gotta like try a little bit harder, you know. And I also try to prevent myself from doing stuff that I know is really hard to do, but it actually also is just kind of stupid. Like, yeah, okay, this is hard, but like, do I really need to paint every piece of chainmail? Like, okay, sure, nobody else is gonna do that, you know. But like,
Right.
is it even worth doing it? And so I have to like, justify the means. But like, there's some things where I'm just like, oh no, like learning all this stuff, like nobody else is willing to learn, but at the end result of it is going to be impressive, and people are going to be like, what? How did you do that? And that's exactly what happened with this. Like I knew as I was doing it, I was like, oh man, people are going to be like tripped out, right? Because they're going to think
Hmm.
it's 2D and then it's going to move, and they're like, what? And then sure enough, that's exactly what happened, right? And people are like always asking what software you're using. Even like famous artists like Anthony Francisco, who's like one of the biggest artists in the industry who works at Marvel. He's like, what? Is that 3D? He's like, is that Blender? And if you go through the comments, people are like, wait, is this 3D? Wait, what program are you using? What programs are you using? and, we, and it's like, yo, just read what I wrote for the first 7 people.
Yeah.
But you can see like people are like, wait, how did you do that? And that's how I know, right? I know that people are going to be like, wait, what? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And this is like one of the most commented things I've gotten in a while. They're like, look, it's had like 77 comments, where normally I average about like 20 or 30, right?
Yeah.
Look at that. You know, this one got like 77 comments. People were completely curious to what was going on. My next challenge is to make something like this, see what I'm painting here, into 3D. And then people will be like, what? you know?
Right.
And I'm just going to be like, none of your business, dude. Best kept secret. Best kept secret in the business. But that's what I'm saying. What did I do differently than other people couldn't have done? I'm watching this. I'm just going on YouTube and shit, dude. I'm just like trial and error every day. You know?
Right.
And even one of my old students and my person who works with me on my school, Mike, he's like, did you use 3D Code and Blender, dude? It's just like, even he knows. I've taught him. He's been in several mentorships of mine. And I tell him, it's all about them skills, bro. You know? Like, be resourceful. Put the time in every day, you know?
Right.
And he's still like, what tool is that, dude? It's just because everyone's like this. And let me be very clear. I'm not immune to this too. I also am like, what tool is that? We all do it, dude. But like ultimately when it comes down to it, it's like nobody tries hard. Okay? Like nobody when times get tough, that's when people start to back out. You understand?
Right.
And if you realize that, like I'm teaching you guys now and telling you the secret, just basically stay diligent, you know? You will see in years' time what I meant. You'll finally be in part of the club, dude. And I'll welcome you with open arms. Okay? And then, years from now when you're doing your own lectures, you're doing your own tutorials for whatever reason, right? You're going to say the same shit, dude. Because it's just true. All right?
Mhm.
But that's what I mean. Hopefully that clarifies it a little bit better.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah. And like I said, any way and shape and form of that you can think of when it comes to hard, yes, that's what the answer is. Okay.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Should I go to events?
Mhm.
It's hard to go to events. Oh, I probably should do it then. You know what I mean? Hey, how do
Right.
I get in contact with professionals? Oh man, I bet it's hard. Well, I guess I have to start doing that. It's like anything that seems like a challenge, that's the very thing you probably should be doing. Because most people have the same thought process as you did, but they didn't act. That will be the difference. You tried hard. Got it?
Right.
And now
Got it.
I will correct, or I will put a caveat to this too, because I understand there's another idea of trying hard, like spending 20 hours, like just rendering a tooth or something, stupid shit. That's not trying hard. That's being stupid. Okay? It feels like you're trying hard because you put in the actual amount of time, but there's like so many ways you can hammer in one nail into a board, right? Before it's actually in already. But like building a home is hard, even if it takes you 2 years to do it, right? If you build it piece by piece and take your time with it, right? It's still going to be a challenge, you know? That's the way I like to think about trying hard. It's more about just that you're doing things that are challenging. It doesn't matter about the time. It could be done. You can do a series of challenging things in about an hour, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? And that's more valuable than doing just pointless things for like several weeks, right? Even though you put in the time, just grinding it out. So I think there is a difference. But I will say this too, caveat on top of the caveat, that even that bad behavior type of practice still kind of works. Okay? That's why it's usually promoted. Many artists do that approach and they get very good, you know?
Yeah.
Because it is ultimately still hard and it's still something that is going to teach you a lot of stuff. It really does. It's not a waste of time. It's not an entirely waste of time. I'm just saying that there's better use of your time, both scientifically proven too, about being more focused with what you're trying to learn rather than just kind of going all in.
Right. Okay. Understood.
Yeah, man.
I actually had another question though.
Sure.
I don't currently have a portfolio, but was wondering, would it be would it be okay if I sent my portfolio to you after I get it together, maybe in a few weeks, or?
Sure. Do it through Instagram. I check my Instagram pretty often. Every other thing I do not. There's too many things to check. That is the best way to get a hold of me, as well as just emailing, but even emailing is not as fast as Instagram. I have chosen my social networks. It's Instagram and TikTok. Those are the only places I live now. TikTok is primarily for entertainment. I love it. It's so funny. And then Instagram is a good way for me to get a hold of my fans.
That makes sense. I guess I also was just kind of like curious. I know that earlier in the course you said that you felt like we were, like, all of us as students, we were at a point where, like, we probably could apply places, but what is probably, I don't know, I guess the biggest reason why I haven't made a portfolio is because I'm nervous that the quality of my work isn't good enough, and I keep second guessing myself, and I'm struggling with, like, worrying about imposter syndrome, because I've struggled with that before when trying to do other things. Do you have any advice on how to deal with that, or?
Yeah, just ignore it. Yeah, I mean, you're just wrong, right? Like, the worst that can happen is what?
Not really anything. I mean, they could tell you no, but it doesn't mean that they won't tell you yes later.
Yeah, exactly. See, so what's the problem? You know, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's really just your own insecurities that's driving that conversation, not anything based in reality, right? I always make the joke of like, yeah, don't do it because, you know, the clients will keep a blacklist of all the terrible artists, right? That's not how it works, right? Like, it's not like when people see your work, they're like, oh, this is one of the most grossest, terrible artwork I've ever seen. Janet, yes? Email this person. Let her know if she ever shows her face in this town again. You know, like, nobody does that, right? What actually happens? They'll just ignore your work and then move on. Right? Like,
Right.
and you know this is true because you do it too. When you see artwork that you don't necessarily are inspired by, you just move on. You don't go out of your way unless you're a mean person, right? To go like message this person and tell them that they're the worst in art. You just don't do anything. You just move on, right?
Right.
And that's pretty much it. There is no Illuminati art club that like creates like a list of people to hate, you know. But what I will say that does stick is just if you're a bad attitude, like if you have a bad personality or a bad reputation, that will be something that people will find out about. The industry is pretty small, but if you haven't done anything, then I wouldn't really worry about it. You know, um, yeah, because there was like, for instance, the stuff that happened with a pretty prolific artist named Noah Bradley. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but
I've heard of Noah.
yeah, but he apparently he did a lot of nefarious things with female artists, which is not great.
Well,
Yeah, and everyone pretty much came out and came after him, just like pretty much canceled him. And when people were telling me about it, I was like, yeah, I've heard. And so it's, to me, it wasn't a surprise. You know what I mean? Like I just knew. Now, whether I know if it was all based in reality and it was all true, that is something I just don't know for sure, right? But some really close friends of mine have said these things were true, so I do believe them. And I do have kind of a rule of thumb where, because there's some people who will just go all in on like you got to always believe the victims at every stage. It's just kind of like you got to be careful with that, man. you know. But I do have a rule that like if it's like clearly more than like 3 or 4, like it's very unlikely that they're lying, right? Especially if it's all pretty consistent and they have no connection to one another. That's like a really hard thing to kind of be like, nope, they're fucking coordinated efforts. It's like, nah. And statistically speaking, women are definitely more victims too, right? So I would, if you were to tell me, even in like in a neutral situation, right? I would most likely believe the female victim versus the male victim, right? But that's why I don't just go all in though either way, because I don't know, and to just assume is pretty dangerous. It's a pretty scary precedence to set, and but I do also believe we just need a better system, and we need to find a better way than just the court of public opinion to solve this types of stuff. But in some cases, public opinion just gets people to actually move the dial. So I'm not too opposed to it either. I just think there needs to be a more reliable system, because sometimes a public opinion could go in the opposite direction, and
where the victim is blamed, or
vice versa. Someone who didn't do anything wrong is considered because it can definitely have some real damning effects to the individual's career. And then coming to find out, oh no, that person didn't do anything wrong. Like it's too late, Like that kind of stuff is sketch, man. It's crazy, right?
I always forget that it happens, but when it does, it's pretty detrimental.
Yeah, and I even tell a lot of like my male like students and some students that are artists that become really good. I tell them like, don't even like entertain the idea that you might be flirting with a female artist. Okay. Especially if you are in a position of power, right? Like for instance, I am over many of my students, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I like make a very clear point that I'm just friendly, not flirty. If that makes sense. Right? I always like, look, this is like my wedding ring, dude. Like I'm married, happily married. Like this is just a friendly encounter we're having here. Right. And I think that also just makes people feel a little bit more comfortable versus just like, you don't know for sure, because there's a thing there, man. I can imagine that power dynamic can influence people in either way. Right. and I don't think it's smart. You know what I mean? Especially like if you're trying to really help people out, like myself. You just want to be very clear that that's all you're here for, you know. And I think sometimes people forget this, but that kind of stuff is the only kind of stuff that I can imagine. There is like true blacklists, and people do talk behind closed doors about this stuff, you know. And that was one of them. And you know, I had two people that I talked to say these things about him, and I was like, "That's crazy." Well, all right. Well, hopefully, you know, he'll stop being an asshole, you know.
Yeah.
And I guess just people just had enough. He just did it again. Didn't learn his lesson, I guess, the first few times, and they just went after him. And I think it's like I said. I think this situation is pretty much accurate because he himself came out and was just like, "Yeah, I'm a fucking asshole," you know. So I was like, "Yeah, okay." It's pretty open and closed case, you know. It's so. I will say that that's the kind of stuff you got to be careful of. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's stuff that should be already pretty obvious. You didn't need me to explain it. I just wanted to be very clear to you that that's true. And then what other thing is that you shouldn't even worry about is just like your age. That's not really a thing. Sometimes people are like, "Oh, I'm too old," or "Am I too young?" No, not really. That's not a thing. At least I haven't seen it. That'd be weird. Wait, how old are they? Oh, they're too old. They're too old to be awesome. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah. What else is there? Yeah, there's like nobody. Yeah, nobody does anything. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Like it's not like a thing. Trust me.
So just keep trucking and keep getting better and keep trucking
Yeah.
along.
Yeah, and one thing that I will also tell you is that, like, you know, when you're like posting artwork, the idea is to try to get more fans, you know, and more people to follow you, so you can have more opportunities. It's a great tool, you know. And
So then posting about your work and
yeah, it's like don't be afraid of like just showing the ups and downs, right? And you'll be shocked. I have a friend who is not an artist by trade, but he wanted to get good at art. And he was taking my advice. He's like, "How did you like build your fan base?" It's like, "Oh yeah, I just share my work like all the time." And he's like, "Okay." So he started doing it too. And he was telling me how he was getting some fans. He's like, "It's crazy, man. Like I have like garbage work. Like I'm just getting good. I'm just like putting into practice what you've told me. And I'm getting like 2 or 3 followers every day." And I was like, "Yeah, dude." He's like, "Yeah, it's pretty crazy." He's like, "I thought I wasn't gonna get anybody." He's like, "No, but people like to see the journey too."
Can I ask you a question on that note?
Absolutely.
How much would you recommend is a really solid but amount, but like still reasonable to like continue over time to like be posting? Like how many times a week do you think is like
At least
good...
once a week.
Okay.
But if you can, every other day, if not every day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's all about getting that exposure. I had a friend who's pretty popular on social media, but he also did one of those things where he took a break for a while.
Yeah.
And he was just like, "Dude, like fucking Instagram trying to throttle my views, bro. I used to get tens of thousands of views. Now I only get a couple thousand. Like, what's going on here, dude? Trying to make me buy my..." And then he's going off on this. Like, I was like, "No, man, you just were absent for like several weeks." And so they just don't care about your content anymore. And then now that you're back and you thought you could just post again, like you thought you'd be back to where you were. It's like, no, like you have to build that back up again. You know?
Yeah.
Because before you were posting every day, and I was like, no, you got to like post frequently. You know? Like
Yeah.
there's not like a person that's just looking just at yours, you know, and like they can't operate at that scale, so they have these rules in place, and of course they want your money, right? But they make more money from ad revenue. They make more money from people staying on their site, no matter like whether they like it or not. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I mean that part, like whether you like it or not, a website will keep you there as long as humanly possible. And the like it part you might understand. You're like, but the what, the not liking it? What do you mean? Like, wouldn't that keep me off of their platform if I don't like it? No, man, just go to any like Trump 2020 comment section, dude, and you'll see people there for literally several hours fighting with one another. Whether you like it or not, you're there. You know what I mean? You are pissed or you are happy because you're trolling all the libs. Whatever the reason is, there's still that advertisement of diapers that you need to go get, or that new vacuum that you forgot to buy on Amazon, right? You're, oh yeah, I do need to get that thing. You know? Let's see what Facebook's advertising to me. Let's see what's going on in my life. Topaz Labs, dude. Build your art portfolio, bro. Get out of my mind, dude. How do they know? I went to this one website just one time about AI enhancing, like sharpening your images. This is for like, I was thinking for like light maps. So this would be cool.
Really cool.
It's like a cool idea. Yeah, oh, dude, now I'm sold. See, even my advertisements are sold to you guys. You don't even know. You know, let's just keep scrolling. Let's see what advertisement just pops up. Luckily for me, I don't click on like Trump hate or Biden love or whatever the fuck. I just click on like art stuff and memes these days. And so luckily for me, this is the kind of stuff that shows me. Kit Bash 3D. This is an advertisement. But it's like clear. Like I'm like an artist. I want to make cool stuff. Like they know what I want. I'm trying to see if I can find another ad. Like it's hidden. That's kind of the point. Like, oh yeah, here we go. Green Chef. Yeah, I'm all about eating. Keto though. Nice try. fuck keto, dude. Keto, dude.
Nope.
Nice try. Let me see if I can find. Oh, here we go. Another one. Modern goth fonts. That might be a thing I would buy. Oh, here we go. Some posts. Oh, I don't know what this is about, but don't rant. Don't hang on it. Just keep moving. Maya. Now, you should do this for your own sanity. See what Facebook thinks of you, and you might not like what you see. And that is not Facebook's fault. That is your own damn fault. Okay? Stop clicking on things that you don't like. Okay? Stop arguing with people that you don't like. Stop clicking on articles you don't like. You know? Just change the algorithm, man. You know? And you'll have a little bit more of a respect for it. You'll realize, oh no, it's only showing me what I am. and I don't like it, and that's why I hate it, because it's easier to say fuck Facebook than it is to say fuck me and my personal tastes and interests.
Clicking habits, yeah.
Yeah, and your clicking habits. Yeah, you should do this with all your social, like your YouTube, your Instagram, everything. You know. Anyway, I'll take on one more question. I generally have to go. The class has gone on for way too long. We've been having good discussions though. It's good last class. Any final thoughts, questions? Well, listen, it's been a pleasure, everybody. It's been an honor as always. I hope you guys the best moving forward. Stay positive, stay focused. I'll see you guys when I see you guys. It's been an honor. Cheers, friends.
Thanks, AJ.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much,
everybody.
Anthony.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And the last thing that I'll say is that this video will be up on that link that I sent earlier. So be sure to grab that link later today and tomorrow. All right. Cheers, guys.
Goodbye.
Cheers.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it. Please subscribe to watch more in the future. If you like the video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. If you like this content, you can go to my website, robotpencil.net, where you can find mentorships, tutorials, and a Patreon to get more exclusive content. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in my next videos.